Ready? You guys awake after lunch, huh? Good, good. It's not free coffee. It's my 6th cup a day. All right. Today, I'm going to go through a little bit about my background, kind of why I'm up here, how I got involved in real estate, and I really want this presentation to be action-oriented, right? It's more tailored towards people who haven't gotten started yet, who haven't done any deals, but I go through a lot of specific action steps required in order to become a successful real estate investor. A lot of the things that I go through are applicable to business and just life in general, too. It's not just real estate specific, which I think is important. First, I'm going to go through a little bit about my personal story. All right, get a little vulnerable here. So I was 5 years old. Parents got divorced. 7 years old. My dad, driving home drunk, rolled a Jeep, and ended up killing a woman. In and out of jail about 10 years throughout the rest of my life. I was raised by my mother, single woman who was an amazing person, absolute amazing person. She was a hairdresser, and she owned her own hair salon. Very hardworking entrepreneur. But she had to work, 60, 70 hours a week just to put food on the table and keep a roof over our heads. This inspired a sense of curiosity of the world within me, though, and I used it to excel in school. I love to learn, love to figure things out on my own, and it allowed me to do well. I graduated 3rd in my high school class. I went to a vocational high school. I'm a huge proponent of vocational high schools for drafting and machine design, and graduated 3rd in my class. Ended up going to Worcester Polytechnic Institute, got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering with a minor in aerospace engineering. Got my first job out of college as a jet engine repair design engineer. Thought it was my dream job, everything I'd ever wanted. Pretty cool, right? So 3 months in, sitting in the cubicle, writing another Microsoft Word document. And I realized that there had to be more. I wasn't going to do this for the next 30 years of my life, 50 years of my life, whatever it could have been. So I decided to seek answers. I wanted to learn more about the world, learn more about myself. I stumbled across this collection of audio programs by the man named Brian Tracy. Is anybody familiar with Brian Tracy's work? He's an old school personal development legend from like the 80s and 90s. And it's pretty cool. It was something that I never thought of. I thought it was pretty cheesy when I first started listening to it. But hey, it exploded my mind with just the possibility of things that you can achieve in life. Brian Tracy led me to other legends such as Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar. Then Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' personal mentor. Of course, Tony Robbins, and then Eric Thomas, now the modern day hype man, personal development guru. And just this psychology change of just realizing that you can achieve anything in life if you set your mind to. So there were 3 things that I came across just listening to audio programs. That was the best part about working in a cubicle all day. I could just listen to audio all day long. And so I became obsessed with audiobooks and different programs. And there were 3 things that totally changed my life. Personal development was the first one, getting my mindset right. Second one was real estate, of course. And the third one was permaculture. Permaculture is short for permanent agriculture, perennial agriculture. It's this, it can also be described as edible landscaping. Right? It's a design science of working with rather than against nature. And I became obsessed with it. It's just this whole regenerative agriculture idea of being able to contribute to the environment rather than destroy it, like humankind is so keen to do. And I wanted to implement. And so I became a certified permaculture design consultant. I took an online course, and I almost quit my job then and there and started an edible landscaping company. But after running the numbers, the economics seemed bleak. People aren't quite ready to dive into that scene yet. And my pitch was really just to take a small parcel of your backyard, ½ acre, and you could plant 100 different fruit and nut trees there. Apple, pear, peach, plum, raspberry, blueberry, blackberry, asparagus, and rhubarb, and all in this mess, right? And after a few years, it just looks like the woods, it looks like the forest. Then you look a little bit closer, every single thing is edible. I wanted to convert public parks and have small portions of a public park feed all the homeless in the city. But again, I don't think the world's quite ready yet for it. But that's really my passion. That's something that I'm trying to strive towards. permaculture. And then I came across real estate. The book was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which I'm sure everybody here has read. If not, highly recommend it. I heard somebody else recommend it earlier today as well. It's like the fundamental blueprint of the biggest trigger for most people who get started in real estate investing. So I decided I was going to become a real estate investor. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make money with an edible landscaping company, so I was like, oh, I'll just flip a few houses and then I'll plant trees at the houses that I flip and just sell it that way. And that's a much more economically feasible business model. And so I went to a weekend-long coaching program, real estate guru program, ended up dropping $60,000, took out 12 credit cards, maxed them out, balance transferred, and jumped in head first. I don't recommend everyone does that. But it worked for me. I lit a fire up under my ass. Now I knew I had to succeed in this business because there was so much on the line. And that was 4 years ago. I've since flipped 7 houses and I now own 6 rental units. So it worked out pretty well. But just this idea of personal development and just being so committed to something that I'm going to do whatever it takes to succeed is so important if you want to succeed in this business. And we all need that consistent motivation, self-talk, and perseverance, knowing that you're going to lose money, you're going to come across hardships, and accepting that from the start and being able to move forward anyway, so that when those things do inevitably happen, you know how to handle them. I'm going to go through. There are 3 seeds that I'm going to plant in your minds that are going to, and I'm going to give you some actionable steps to cultivate those seeds and grow them into the life of your dreams. All the tree references here, right? And it's really applicable, because if you plant a tree seed, it might take 10 to 15 years before it has an abundance of fruit. And the timelines match up pretty well. If you want to be a successful investor, it takes time and patience and a lot of care to water it and fertilize it and take the time to make sure that it will produce abundance of fruit. So, the 3 C's, let's get into it. Number 1, establishing a growth mindset. Keep saying it's personal development. Brian Tracy once said, there are no limits on what you can achieve with your life, except the limits that you accept in your mind. Simple things that mean so much. Invest in yourself. Best investment you can make is in yourself. Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, a sales legend. You're born to win. But to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. And of course, Tony Robbins and Eric Thomas. YouTube these people. Write them down. Write down these names and YouTube them. If you aren't already convinced, if you don't already have this mindset of success, it doesn't take much. 20 minutes a day to listen to some of these things, and you get fired up and ready to achieve anything. And it seems cheesy, right? Sometimes I feel like an idiot kind of sitting there, I'm getting rah-rah, hyping myself up. But it's so powerful. It really, really is. And it depends, Brian Tracy and Jim Rohn, these guys are old school, right? They're suave talkers. They're very eloquent in the way they speak. If that appeals to you, then go for it. Or if you're more of a hype man, like Tony Robbins or Eric Thomas, like, get off your ass and do whatever it takes to make it happen. A little bit more in your face and direct. Establish a growth mindset. Foundational for anything else you want to do in life. The next C is habits. Rolling that into establishing constructive habits. Number 1 most valuable habit that I ever learned came from the book The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. If you haven't read this book, write it down. It's so powerful. The whole idea is waking up earlier in your day and doing these 6 things. You can pick and choose, start slow, start with 20 minutes. I recommend an hour, take 10 minutes each, and go through this acronym, SAVERS. Right? S in SAVERS is for silence. The science of meditation is profound. We know it's something that we're supposed to do. We know that it's healthy, that it's beneficial, psychologically, and just mentally. It makes such a big difference in your life. Take some time to meditate. Affirmations. Again, having positive self-talk. Saying your goals out loud. I am committed to owning 30 units by 30 years old, and I know the specific action steps I need to take, and there's nothing that is going to stop me from achieving that goal. Whatever it is for you, say it out loud, say it to yourself, convince yourself, brainwash yourself to be successful, to achieve these goals. Because the reality is you're being brainwashed every day by the people you hang out with, by the television you watch, by the awful stories in the news. These things influence your mindset, and if you don't take action to decide what kind of information you want to accept into your life and surround yourself with positive, constructive information, then you're just going to be like the rest of the population. Which we aren't. We're in this room, so we know that we're different than most already. So it's important to do this. Visualization. I like to couple this with meditation. Close your eyes and imagine that you've already achieved all your goals. Your big, hairy, audacious goal. You're financially free. You're a multi-millionaire. You have a loving family. Close your eyes. Walk through a day in your shoes 10 years from now, 20 years from now, after you've achieved all those goals. What do you do when you wake up? What do you do throughout the day? Who are you with? How does it feel to have achieved that level of success that you're working so hard for now? How does it taste? How does it smell? What does it sound like? Absorb all your senses and create this crystal clear picture of exactly what it is that you want in life, and you'll be so much more likely to achieve it. Exercise. I need to do this first, because if I try to meditate first thing in the morning, I fall asleep. So exercise. First thing I do when I wake up, I put coffee on, and then I'll just do some air squats and push-ups and crunches. Takes 2 minutes. Do really quick, gets the blood pumping, grab my cup of coffee, I'm ready to go. I'm alert, I'm awake, and I'm ready to start the day. I think reading is the most important thing that all of us need to do, especially if you want to succeed in real estate or business. You have to take start with 5 minutes. I recommend 20 or 30 minutes every single morning to read the most applicable book that will help you achieve your goals at that point in time. Or watch videos. First thing in the morning again, you watch some hype videos of some motivational speakers. Get you fired up, ready for the day. Real estate, if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, get it and read it. First thing in the morning, 30 minutes a day. Whatever applies to you at that time. And then journaling. The power of putting your thoughts on paper turns them into reality. If you write your goals down, if you think out loud, write on paper, and express your gratitude and appreciation for all the things in your life. If you write that down, it has a profound impact on your state of mind. Really, really important. All of these are science-based facts too. All of these things have shown psychologically how powerful they are and how much of a difference they can make in your life. Miracle morning. Really, really important. Start slow, highly recommend. Very actionable step though. You can start this tomorrow. Start it on Monday. Wake up, find a book, read it, take this time to pick the ones that make the most sense for you. Continuous education. There's a lot of overlap between these things. That was intentional. There should be overlap. They all combine to make this strong root system. All right? Continuous education. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't read it yet, read it. Bigger Pockets. Raise your hand if you're on Bigger Pockets. Should just about everybody, right? The most influential website for real estate investors. So many resources, all free. Some of them are paid. They have an incredible publishing company with all their own books. A book on house hacking just came out like 2 days ago. Really good. The most recent podcast was very good by the author of that book. They also have a lot of deal analyzers and different tools you can use. Incredibly valuable, and of course the podcast. Now this is for you to decide. I said that I jumped in head first, paid 60 grand for a coaching program. I don't recommend that for everybody, but you know your own personality. If you need that push off the ledge and you need a financial incentive to become successful, just recognize, weigh the pros and cons of that. Understand that there are a lot of scummy programs out there, so do your research, do your due diligence. If you are going to go that route, Fortune Builders is a very reputable company. They did provide me the tools to excel in a much shorter time period than I could have otherwise. But you don't need to. We're in the information age. All the information that you need to succeed is free, and it's out there, and there are so many podcasts. All these are podcasts that are by people who are successful in real estate. They're in the game, they're doing the work, and they interview other people who are successful, and they tell you lessons they've learned, things that they've experienced, and things that you need to know if you want to become successful. And it doesn't take much. It could be one tidbit of advice that could save you tens of thousands of dollars in this industry. A small mistake can cost a lot of money. So it's important to continually surround yourself with positive information that's going to help you become more successful. All right, those are the seeds, right? They've been planted. So now there's no excuse. You have to be able to cultivate those and care for them and repeat over and over and over again. Set those habits. Really important. Next, I'm going to go into the roots. These are the fundamentals of real estate investing. The basic 3 things that you need to do to get started and to consistently do over and over and over again to become successful. Number 1, the reason we're all in this room, networking. So important. Cliche, your network is equal to your net worth. So damn true. This is a team sport. This business is so dependent on other people. You have to develop these relationships. Real estate agents, attorneys, mortgage brokers, lenders, contractors, and other investors. You have to have this team, this pool of people that have other experiences that you can pull from. And I recommend, when you're going through these exercises of personal development, determine what is your why. Why are you in this business? What are you passionate about? And when you meet these people, be a little vulnerable with them. Just tell them, I want to do this great, amazing thing with my life. And real estate's the vehicle to get me there. And if you sell them on your vision, then they're going to be so much more inspired to help you. Because nowadays, there's a lot of competition in this business. Everybody and their mom wants to get into real estate investing. And so if you're able to distinguish yourself as serious, committed, energetic, and hungry to win, you'll be so much more likely to develop stronger relationships. Next is marketing. The days of getting deals off the MLS are basically over. And again, when you're going through these mindset things and you're journaling, you have to determine what strategy you want to do. Because in real estate, it's a shiny object world. There's a lot of different directions you can go. So you have to decide, do you want to wholesale? Do you want to flip single families? Do you want to be a small landlord, 2 to 4 unit properties? Or do you want to do 1,500, 2,000 unit, huge apartment complex syndications? You can do any of them. You can start anywhere. But you have to decide and become laser focused on what it is that you want. No matter what you do, you need to market. This is more tailored towards single families, wholesaling, and small apartment buildings. But you have to market. Letters are the go-to, fundamental, direct mail, yellow letters. Again, every letter you send, the homeowner's probably getting 5 or 6 letters from other investors. So you need to distinguish yourself. You need to be creative and outgoing and personalize them in such a way that the owner, whoever is reading it, will pick yours out of the pile over the rest and give you the call. Cold calling. I love cold calling. I think it's the most valuable thing. Get a seller on the phone. You can pull these different lists, whether it's a divorce list, a probate, pre-foreclosure, bankruptcy. There's a lot of different lists you can pull from. And you can get those phone numbers, you can skip trace, and start dialing the phone. It'll be uncomfortable for a week, and then it won't be.
When do you get the divorce list?
The divorce list? A divorce attorney. Work with an attorney who deals with divorces. It's not really a list, but they send you leads. What's that?
You go to the court?
You could go to the courts. Yeah, you could go to the courthouse and pull records. Yep. And there are some things that are online, and the things that aren't online are going to be a higher value per lead, because if it's online, anybody else can pull it too. Like probate is a little tricky, but you can get it online, but you have to dig a little bit, and I found that to be my highest percentage success, is the probate list. And door knocking. Driving for dollars, right? If you drive around, find a crappy house, knock on the door. If they answer it, say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, wondering if you'd be interested in selling your house. You don't have to have a whole pitch. It can be pretty simple. Just drove by. Just wondering if you are interested in selling. They might slam the door in your face. It's okay. Send them a letter later and continuously follow up. Give them a call later on, just consistently. You don't want to be aggressive about it. You don't want to be a nuisance. But if you're coming from a genuine place and you really want to help, it's a really crappy place. I mean, they open the door, you see they're kind of hoarding inside. It's a really unhealthy situation. You know, come from a genuine place. Hey, I really think that I could add value to your life. I want to be able to help and provide this service. I'll buy the property as is with cash. I can give you a check. You can take what you want, leave what you don't, and walk away. Move on with your life. Start fresh. Follow up. Like I said, it should take 5 to 10 touches until you give up, but continuously follow up. It could take 2 to 3 years. On the investor panel up here earlier, this guy said that he sent a text message to a divorced woman, and it was 3 years before she said that she's finally ready to sell the house. It was one of his better deals. So follow-up is incredibly important. Next are analyzing deals. You need to know your numbers. You need to be able to make a quick decision incredibly fast and look at the deal and know whether or not in the first 30 minutes if it's worth pursuing. Again, a lot of competition. It's a fast-paced environment out there nowadays because there was no landlord meter. So an easy way to add value. There, repairs and maintenance, CapEx. It was in really good shape. I didn't have to do much. It was just dated. So there wasn't much I had to do to it. But market rents, I inherited the tenants, which is always a little scary. You're not really sure what you're getting into. But I inherited the tenants way below market rent. They've both been there for over 5 years, never missed a day of rent. Were really great tenants, never complained, but way below market rent. So one of those philosophical conundrums of a landlord. Do I kick them out and put them to the street, even though they're good tenants, renovate the units and bring them all up to market rent? Or slowly raise the rents over time, which is what I've been doing, and they've been okay with it, but there's a point where I know they just won't be able to afford it. And so, I'm still living there, I'm taking my time, but eventually I will need to renovate the units and I will not renew their leases at some point. Cash flow, $700, negative $700. This is like the first year that I moved in, I was living there. It's like, oh, I'm not cash flowing, I'm supposed to be house hacking, I'm supposed to pay for my mortgage. Think about it, I'm paying $700 for rent on a building that I own that's appreciating, adding equity, and tax write-offs, and incentives, and potential. So this is all about. Future potential is huge. And I fixed up my unit. I didn't go crazy, and I didn't have any construction experience at all beforehand. But I went through each unit, and again, we're in the information age. You know what I did? I watched friggin' YouTube. I watched a lot of hours of YouTube, how to renovate a kitchen. Just followed it step by step. And I bought all the cabinets, and I did all the carpentry work, and painted the whole unit, and now it's gorgeous. Whereas before, I might have gotten $1,200, $1,300. I could now get $1,500 or $1,600 for this unit, for spending a little bit of sweat equity. All right, so now, 4 years later. Yep, good question?
I'm just curious, did that ever work against you doing your own? Did you ever cause more of an issue?
No. You know why? Because, no, not really. Because people who mess up, they just wing it, I was followed it to a T. YouTube videos to a T, as best as you can. And as an engineer by trade, I'm kind of anal, so I was like, took my time with it, lived in a construction site for a while, but took my time and made sure that I did it right because I didn't want to have to come back and do it again. That being said, I put a shower surround on my first unit, and I never peeled the plastic film off the back of it. And so I caulked it all and sealed it and put it on and never took the film off the back, and so now it's all fallen off. So yeah, there's always something. All right, 4 years later, I just got appraised, $346,000. I just made over 100 grand. I didn't do anything. There was really no headaches. I didn't have much, 100 grand appreciation in 4 years. Don't rely on that. Number one, never bank on appreciation. It's a nice bonus, but never rely on making money through appreciation. You want to make money on forced appreciation, through sweat equity, by adding value, by renovating units and bringing the appraised value up. Worcester's just on fire right now, so everything, all of the markets going up and up. So I cashed out refinance. The new loan, 300 grand. Also did a FHA, which I didn't really want to do because I don't plan on living there for much longer. But the numbers just made sense. The rates are still so low, so I had 4% APR, same as it was when the original loan. So it wasn't too bad. Cash at closing. I ended up pocketing 18 grand, so that was nice. Put 18 grand in my pocket. I could have left more equity in the deal and had higher cash flow, but again, it just made more sense to me to pull that money out, and I'll use that as a down payment for my next property. So new monthly payment, tax insurance. The PMI is because the loan to value is so high. So because it was a lower down payment loan, I still have to pay PMI through the FHA program. And that's just an insurance that the government forces us now that 2008 happened, so that the banks, they don't have to bail out the banks, they just cover it themselves. Monthly payment, $2,200. So future cash flow, this is, say next year. If I want to move out next year, bring all the units up to market rent. Utilities, $20 for the utilities. It was $300 before. I insulated the building. It was $16,000 worth of insulation work. It was a traditional three-decker, 1890 it was built. No insulation in the attic or the walls. I put $16,000 worth of insulation work in it. Mass save covered 90%. I paid $800 out of pocket. That immediately dropped the bill 30% on the gas bill for the tenants and for my unit. The appraiser noted to me specifically how much more, he just went to a training, and appraisers are now looking at insulation as a much higher cost value than they ever have in the past. So there's just like a triple whammy of benefits by getting your buildings insulated. And I'm biased because I'm an insulation contractor, I work with Mass Safe, and go through this program all the time, and it's just a no-brainer. You add so much value to the property, and the tenants are happier because they don't have a drafty old building. The tenants are more likely to pay the rent because they're not paying $300 a month for their gas bill, and it just makes so much sense to get your buildings insulated. Anyway, expenses. Bring the units up to rent. This is what market rents should be right now. Income, cash flow, boom, $1,700 a month. And you know what that means? That initial 18 grand that I pulled out on the cash out refinance. So remember, I put 8 grand down to buy this building. I probably put 5 grand in, maybe, in materials and just some small renovations. And then I pulled out 18 grand. So thinking about it from a return on investment perspective, what's my investment? It's nothing. I got all my money back. So it's an infinite ROI. That's the beauty of this industry. Real estate is unlike any other investment because you can get an infinite ROI. There's nothing that can compare to that. It's a beautiful thing. And now I get cash flow, an extra 20 grand a month. I mean, 20 grand a year. It just makes so much sense. So you get a couple of these and you can change your life forever. All right.
Hey Nate, just
Yep.
sorry, question. I tried to raise my hand earlier. So just a shameless plug on that. So Energy Protectors is one of our sponsors, is what he's referring to. And just to add to that, if anybody made it to the legal dark side of having tenants session, a good third of that was on how tenants will bring you to court because your house isn't heated well enough. So if you guys did make it to that one, it's a much bigger deal than you would expect in this area. Sorry, just cut you off.
Yeah, get your buildings insulated. And remember, if you go through Mass Save, you can choose any contractor you want. They don't tell you what to use, but you can pick from the list of approved contractors. Make sure you pick Energy Protectors. We're on that list. We're right at the top there, so plug. Okay, the next deal I did. This one was very similar, except I decided that it was worth putting on here because it wasn't owner-occupied. So the financing structure was different. This is a BRRRR strategy. So my bigger pockets people, you will know. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So it's the same thing I did with my owner-occupied, which is house hacking. So it's a combination of BRRRR and house hacking. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. This was a fire damage property in Worcester. In not the nicest area when I bought it. I was a little worried. It's on like a 45-degree slope, the hill. But in a few of the properties nearby were really, really crappy looking. But this one had a great exterior. It recently had windows, roofing, and siding done, so that was a huge plus. Had a small fire in the basement, or growing weed in the basement, and it was very well contained. I was actually very surprised that it didn't go very far. Now, the first unit was a little very smoke damage, but all the fire damage was in the basement, and it was superficial. I had an engineer come through, and that gave me the confidence. I just called my team. I had an engineer on hand, structural engineer. He came out the day before, like the same day that I went and looked at it. I walked through it, he goes, yeah, it's all superficial, it's like a quarter-inch deep. There's no big deal. No, like I wonder how many other investors walked through this and saw, oh, fire damage, and just walked away. So it's important to have a team that you can rely on when you're not an expert, because nobody's an expert in everything. Paid 150 grand for it. It's a really good deal for a 3-decker in Worcester, even though it was fire damaged. Cost 100 grand. I expected 75, turned out to be 25 grand more, as is always the case. Always expect more of the rehab. Appraised at 350, like 3 months ago. So I used a hard money loan to buy this and renovate it, and then I refinanced out with a commercial long-term loan. For a hard money loan, for my single families, they do 90% loan to value plus 100% of the construction costs, and they do 11% interest and 2 points, which isn't too bad for hard money. Figure the first deal that I did 4 years ago was 14% and 4 points. So the rates are getting better. There's a lot more competition in the lending area. Loan was 180. I also got a second position private lender loan for 45 grand. And this was just a woman who'd always wanted to invest in real estate, but didn't really know how to get started, didn't really have the wherewithal, but she just liquidated her $200,000 401k and wanted to put that money to work. So instead of getting 6% return in the stock market, she gave it to us, and we gave her a 12% return and 3 points down, which is pretty steep. Probably should have negotiated that a little bit lower. But 25 grand all in, out of pocket for us. And that was just the difference in the construction costs that went over. If we properly budgeted and said it was going to be 100 grand in rehab, then it would have been $0 out of pocket originally. 25 grand, not too bad. So you cash out refinance. It appraised for 350. The new loan was 266. This is with a local commercial lender. 75% loan value, 6% interest, 20-year term. Not too bad. Cash at closing, 36 grand. Same concept. You put in 25, we got out 36. It's an infinite ROI. Let that sink in. It's phenomenal. That's an incredible concept. Never mind the tax write-offs, and never mind the cash flow. Expenses, income, and this is current. These are actual. I finally got tenants in within like the first week. It was the nicest house that I talked to 2 different tenants. They said they looked at 15 or 20 other properties, and they put an offer in on they put an application on this on the spot. $1,500 a month cash flow. Yep.
Do you typically shop who you're going to refi with, or do you have a preferred lender that you work with? Or?
I typically would, but I had just met this lender and a local bank who came highly recommended, and they provided a great option, great opportunity, and so there's one specific lender I did use. But it's a good idea to shop around. It's always a good idea to get a few different estimates, point-wise and interest rates and terms. This one's also, it's a 3-year fixed rate at 6%, and then after that, the rate can adjust with a cap of 0.5%, which is important because that's the only thing that I could think of that could screw you on multifamily, is if you get a commercial mortgage, you don't pay attention to the rate, and if it's a variable rate, and then all of a sudden the economy falls apart and the rate skyrockets to 15, 20%, then you don't cash flow anymore, the numbers don't work, and that's where you can get in trouble. But otherwise, if your rate stays the same, within reason, and even expecting 10%, run your numbers. What if the rate jumped to 10%? And it still cash flows? You're all set. You're always going to be able to rent that property for more than the mortgage costs. Here's some before and afters. Again, didn't do too much. I mean, it was dated. It was an old traditional triple decker, and just painted it. Just painted it and put new cabinets in. And new flooring, LVT flooring, put it right over the old vinyl. And I did all the carpentry work on this one myself. One of those balances, I could have hired it out, and the repair cost could have been higher, but it took a year for us to rehab this. Probably could have did it in 3 to 6 months if I hired it all out. Those are the balances you gotta weigh. And it was 6 months after we bought it, had no clue that the new Worcester Paw Sox Stadium was going in like a mile down the road. And within that 6-month period, the 3 other ugliest properties on the street all had roofing, siding, and windows done, bought by new investors, and the whole neighborhood just lit up. It was really crappy before, and now it's really nice. And I can only imagine as the stadium gets built and that whole area of downtown Worcester, Kelly Square, gets redeveloped, this was a gold mine. The diamond on Diamond Street. That's it. So that was a good burr strategy. How are we doing on time, Jesse?
Doing pretty good. You're doing fine.
All right. The last one is a flip. This is a flip that I'm currently doing right now. It should be on the market in the next 2 weeks or so. It's been a long time coming. This one was about a year since we bought it. But again, just a culmination of hard work, consistency, and time. And it just paid off. It's going to pay off really well. And follow-up. So I got this deal, it was off market. It's 3 houses down from the first property I showed you on Chambers Street. So when I first bought my house, I drove by this every single day, and the front footings were sinking, the whole front porch, all the windows were cracked, the roof was split, you could see, and it would rain, and you could just see that water was pouring in. The gutters had fallen off, and it was just ugly. And it was right across the street from one of the best elementary schools in Worcester. Buy that house someday, and I knocked on the door a few times, and the guy would answer it, and he was just wearing like his tighty whities, his gut was out, and he was like incoherent. And I was like, "Hi, I'd like to buy your house," and he's like, "No," and he had something was wrong with him. And so I sent letters, and I was trying to get through to him, and I didn't know what to do. And looking up the property records, I saw that his sister was also on title. It was their childhood home, and she lived in upstate New York. So I sent her a bunch of letters and left a few more voicemails for her. And it was probably 2.5 years of follow-up. I think I sent 10 or 15 letters. Until one day, the phone rings. And she said, hey, I'm over at 53 Malden Street, this is my name, and I need to sell this house. She had visited for the first time in about 10 years and had no idea how bad the house got. It was her childhood home. She was emotional. So I walked over. I was 3 houses down. I was within 5 minutes. I walked over and met her at the property, and she was in tears. I had no idea that this was like this. Like, help me. Like, what can I do? Her brother was a raging alcoholic, had some other mental issues, and it was just, the house was totally falling apart. Dangerous. It was really dangerous to live in. On the flip panel, the guys were talking about, the toilet situation. If you have, like a hoarder house, how disgusting it can be, and just imagining living in those conditions. It's unfathomable. And she felt really bad for her brother, she didn't know what to do. And so, on the spot, right there in the bed of her pickup truck, I had a blank contract, I wrote it up, sold the house, 40 grand on the spot, gave her a check. She could not have been more grateful. She, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, she kept calling me saying, thank you so much, I was able to take that money, put my brother in rehab, pay off some old debts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait to see the property when it's done. It's going to be beautiful. I know, she has so much love for the house. And it makes me feel good. It's one of those things. It's like, wow, I'm really, really adding value to this person's life. And that's the place you have to come from. And, she saw that in my eyes when I was talking with her and I was trying to help her. Like, hey, I'm really here to help. And I want to do it in such a way that I can help the neighborhood, I can help you, I can help, of course, and I have to profit as well, but all within reason. And she respected that. Paid 40 grand for the house, put 175 into it. Expected 150. So again, 25 grand over. It's always that contingency. It's always going to be more. Holding costs. Now these aren't the numbers that they show on HGTV, right? The holding costs and the closing costs are the big variables that they don't show. This is 20 grand, and that's mostly lender interest. This one was basically 100% financed, all with hard money. So if you have actual cash and you come up and you're not paying interest on it, then you make an extra 20 grand. So, but I knew that going into it, and I'm all about leverage. I'd rather leverage, I'm okay with that, and have my liquid cash available for other investments if I have the funds on hand. Closing costs, 20 grand. Really high for closing costs. They had an $8,000 back tax lien on the property. The guy hadn't paid taxes in years and years, and so we were able to pay that off as well. 255 all in. Going to list it for 350. Like the next 2 weeks, looking to list it. The plan originally was to sell it in September. I wanted to hit that new school season crowd of buyers, where all the prices are up, there's a lot of activity in the market, and I think we could have gotten 365. I think we're going to push for it, 365, but I was conservative, say 350. It's almost 100 grand profit. That's a real number, and so coming over the next 2 weeks, I haven't sold it yet, so it's still speculation. Awful things can still happen. So that's one of the best deals that I've done so far. I've done 7 flips so far, and this has been the best. And mainly because it was off market, there were no realtors involved. I was able to get it for dirt cheap. I think the land value was 60 grand alone. We considered tearing it down, but we didn't. We ripped the second floor off and built it up to a colonial, added 2 bedrooms, an extra bath, and made it Energy Star certified. So it's super insulated. We got a lot of incentives and tax rebates through Mass Save. We also went through the Home MVP program, which is a separate contractor, new construction program, get some incentives through that. Has a 95% efficient boiler and baseboard heat, which is something else that went wrong, and that was about a month of delays because we had an HVAC contractor lined up. Everything was going to go well. We had AC. We were going to have AC, and he backed out like a week before we were supposed to start, and it took us a month. Probably had 5 or 6 other HVAC contractors come in, and nobody could do it within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And so we were just dead in the water for a month. And that is the worst feeling ever when you have a property sitting idle. And there was nothing we could do. So we ended up having our plumber just install baseboards and put a really nice boiler in. So it's a combination unit, 95% efficient, hot water heater and boiler combi unit, which is great, but there's no AC in the house, and it's just a really nice house, and I wish there was AC. And I considered putting mini splits in. We were going to do electric mini splits, again, because it's super insulated. That would give us enough heating and cooling power with the baseboard as backup, just redundant heating system. It was 15 grand, and yeah, it's just one of those things, like, it's not really necessary, and I'm curious to see, you know, it's hard to justify, how much would AC add to that ARV? Maybe it would be 365 if we had AC 15 grand. Should we do it still? We might. I don't think so, though. I think we're gonna put it on the market. There's so much demand right now because there's so little inventory in Worcester, especially for nicer houses. You know, there's really not much out there, and so I think that we are well within reason asking 350 for this house in one of the nicest neighborhoods of Worcester.
Next question.
Yes, you may.
You qualify for the mass save rebates even though you put on a second floor?
Yes, because it fell under the new construction program, which is like a weird gray area within Mass Save, because it's not nearly as good as a typical retrofit, but they do have incentives. And I worked with the Energy Star consultant on this one, and she helped work through some of that. So I didn't actually see some of the back end, but I want to dig into the numbers afterwards. Yep.
Do you consider, I mean, it sounds like you're going to be able to sell it no problem, but do you consider a hypothetical situation if you can't sell it, like would you rent it out, something like that?
We could.
Yeah.
That is an option. The only problem with that is through the hard money loan, it has
Yeah.
to be vacant.
Right.
And so if we wanted to rent it out, we'd have to refinance. And it's not that out of the realm of possibility. If we get it appraised and it comes in at 350 on the appraisal, and we can get a 75% loan to value, do the same exact thing, burr the single family, and pull out the cash and then rent it. I just am skeptical of single family rentals.
No, yeah.
In Worcester, it's just, you know, it's just a little bit more
Just wondering if
difficult.
you have like a, you know, a plan B.
Exit strategy. Yeah, multiple exit strategies is always important. And I think we could. I think there's always that option to rent it out. Yep.
Maybe just, you know, ones that maybe did not go as planned, could you give us like the top 3 landmines to look out for?
Sure. They all revolve around contractor issues, whether it's, so there was one that we did that needed a septic system. And so we analyzed it, this one's in Dudley, Mass. Analyzed it, it's like, okay, should be about 25 grand for the septic. A few people we talked to said that should be within reason. Turns out it's on shale and there's a hill and they had to do separate pump station and had to back up to the back of the property. They had to clear like a half an acre of land and they're being 45 grand for the septic. And so that was an extra 20 grand that we did not account for. And we didn't lose money, but we made like 3 grand after a year of painstaking work. And so that's one of those things that's just, you know, lesson learned. You know, now we know, make sure we get the septic quote before we close, make sure we have those numbers on hand. I just closed on a single family in Oxford on last Friday, and that also needs a septic, and we had the same septic contractor come, and that one's only 15 grand, because it's all sand, and it's a level, nice spot, and it's right there. And so it's just one of those, it's a huge variable. Septic systems are one of those things that scare a lot of people away, but now I feel like I'm an expert. And so now I know, like, oh, you know, worst case scenario is budget 45, and if it comes in less, then that's okay. Yeah, but otherwise, biggest things to watch out for. Structural issues are another one of those things. Very first deal we did, we had no business getting into this deal, but we took action, pulled the trigger, and bought this house that one of the columns was just missing. It cut out a column in the basement, and so part of the house was sinking. And that was an extra like 10 grand. We didn't have to get it engineered, but we just had this contractor. Again, we used like our buddy going to vocational high school. And so we have all of our buddies in the trades doing part-time work, and so just all side work. And so we had this kid come, and he just started his own business, just got started, and he was going to jack up this house and reinforce this whole structural issue. And he did it, and it worked out well. We got it all passed, but it took a long time, and it was just it was skeptical. It was a scary situation. And we made like 20 grand on that, the very first deal we did. Any other questions?
How could you kind of, you said that you eyeballed the rehab cost at 150, but you also said that you kind of walked into it and bought it maybe an hour later or something like that. Could you kind of just tell, or how did you come to that 150 number?
So when we first walked through, so that was that same day I walked through. I mean, I knew right away.
Yeah.
It had to become brand new.
I need a new house.
I need a brand new house. So I knew if I could get it, I was like 40 grand, no matter what, I'll be able to make money.
So you just kind of looked at the benefit of that first number.
Yeah.
You just said, you know what, I can run with off quarters of 150.
You know what it came down to? I got her to say she wanted 50 for it. And I said, I'll give you 40. She said, done. You know, otherwise, if I said the first number, I might have said, well, you know, it's 70. And that would still would have been a really good deal. But because she said the number first, I was like, okay.
I'll take one last question.
How many bedrooms was that house before you originally?
It was a weird setup. It was 3, but one of them was like way too small to even be considered.
So what was the ARV before you bought that house?
I'm sorry?
What was the ARV before you bought that house?
Before I bought the house? Oh, so if I kept it as is, you know, I mean, for me to list it as it, you know, if you were to,
Not as is, how much was the price for that kind of house, without the second floor, for and that you go
oh, probably 285, maybe 275. It was brand new, really nicely done, and was still a cape. You know, if the second floor, if the bedrooms on the second floor were the slope, you know, you had to duck to walk in. You know, it was really small.
So, how much did you think the repair cost for you thought it was 150?
If we didn't have to add a second floor, it probably would have been 100. You know, so I figured an extra 50 almost to make it. And that's the thing, we didn't really add much square footage because it was the same footprint, but it was just now 9-foot ceilings. You know, really like nice, wide open, really nice place. I wanted to have some pictures of it befores and afters of the actual when it's done.
Did you ever use much of any of the existing, or did you like replace all of the windows and all the doors and?
Replaced everything. Yep. And the first floor was, yeah, all 2x4 construction. So we wrapped it with 2-inch polyiso rigid foam board in order to meet code, and then insulated the walls after that. And
The reason you chose polyiso instead of using XPS?
I like polyiso better, honestly. I like the foil facing from the air sealing perspective. I like the cape and foam seams a little better. And we have a really good supplier for it, so the numbers made sense.
So the over by 45, as I've seen it, was that, were you going back to the lender to ask for more, or did you budget just more than you borrowed?
Yeah, no, we didn't, we have to come out of pocket for it, you know, or find somebody else, a private lender, say, hey, we just need to finish this up, we need an extra 30 grand, you know, and that's where you can even ask more, say 13, 14% interest on a 6-month term, just so we can finish it up.
And the insulation of the first one, I don't know how much that cost, but was that inclusive? Did you then have to do all the siding as well to then go over the insulation?
Nope, so for the insulation on the exterior walls, we pull off the siding, drill a hole, slide the hose in, and we dense pack the walls with cellulose. And then you put the siding on, it's like nothing ever happened.
Okay, everybody, sorry,
That's
we
it?
have to clear the room for the next.
All right.